Right, okay, so welcome. Thanks very much for doing this,
No
Callum.
problem.
Really appreciate your time. For those who don't know, Callum is a footballer and football coach. So we'll see how this conversation goes today. So welcome.
Brill.
Really appreciate your
No
time,
problem.
Callum.
Thanks for having us.
Football's obviously been a big passion for you then.
Mhm.
Was it something that you got straight into sort of when you left school, or what was your sort of footballing journey?
So footballing journey, like I started, I guess, like everyone else in England, really. When I was knee high, just
Mhm.
well, actually, I was lucky enough because I lived in Whitley Bay. I mean, like mum
Okay.
and dad, like family house,
Mhm.
and my dad built it backed onto Morden Bridge School.
Mhm.
I don't know if you know where that is, but it's basically almost in Whitley Bay town centre, and
Mhm.
there's like a grass pitch, and then they've got an astro turf pitch as well.
Okay.
And what my dad done was he built like a hinge fence onto my
Right.
back garden fence. So
Right.
like it looked like it was just normal planks of wood, I guess, but
Yeah.
he had put the hinges on the top side, so it like kind of opened like a cat flap to hide that I was going on the school pitch on the weekends and everything. So me and my pal up the street was like he would come and knock on us and just would jump on the back field and just play, have kickabout. So that's how I like got into it, just dead young, and then played football. Oh, obviously numerous times a week ever since. Really, it's always kind of been my passion. Like everyone else, really. Well, not everyone, but a lot of other people in this country. Like just started when I was really young, and played for obviously lots of different Sunday League teams, county teams,
Yeah.
all the rest of it.
Yeah.
And then after school, there was the sort of decision to make, like whether I'd like not continue playing, but did I want to sort of like keep my focus on football, because you know how competitive it is and stuff. So
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
what I decided to do was leave the school that I was at, Thomas More in North Shields, and that was like a really good school, and a lot of my friends and everything stayed on and went to their sixth form, which was quite the norm there because it's like a good sixth form, well, good reputation anyways.
Yeah.
And I left and went to Monk Seaton,
Okay.
which didn't have quite as good reputation for the school, but they had obviously a really good sort of football sixth form program. And that's where I went, and I was just like spoke to my mum and dad and said that I wanted to go over to America and do the whole scholarship and everything, and that's where I met Lee Pickton and Graham Fenton, really, which kind of, long story short, brought us back to Shields and everything. So then I went to Monk Seaton and then went over to America for my studies.
Okay.
Yeah, so then I got my degree and played college football over there, or soccer as they call it, and then played 3 years out there in the second division, USL, and then came back to Shields.
Right. Wow.
So, took us on my travels as well, to be fair.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
good, it was class.
3 years over there. That at a relatively young age as well.
Well, it was in 7 years in total, because
Okay.
I went to college and done 3.5 years of college, and then I started like the season and the college year didn't end and start at the same time, so there was a little bit of an overlap. So
Okay.
it was like a 4-year degree, but then I started playing a little bit before I'd finished. Luckily for a team that was sort of like an hour away from my college.
Okay.
So then I was like kind of training every day in the morning. I kind of tried to schedule all my classes for the afternoon, and was obviously skipping a few here and there, but I got through it. I got my degree. But yeah, it was like, looking back now, 28 now, looking back, it was a young age, like to go over, and I just didn't really think anything of it at the time. I did, because obviously I had a girlfriend and friends and all the rest of it at the time, but it was I was just like, I want to do it, and my mum and dad fully supported us, and I was obviously lucky enough where they could afford the flights to take us over, and I know it's not feasible or stuff for everybody, but they've always tried to back us whenever they could afford and things like that. So they managed to get us over there on my scholarship and stuff.
Yeah.
It was a learning curve, like it was. It really opened my mind up. I'm so glad I went. Probably my best experience.
Yeah.
I think just going from just like living with your mum and dad and what have you, and getting your tea made and your washing and all the rest of it, all the simple stuff. But even living with the lads over there at 18, just like people do at uni here, I guess. But obviously I was further away. There was no like kind of coming back and forward on the weekends and what have you.
Yeah, it's not like you're on Leeds Uni an hour and a half away.
Whatever. Yeah,
you are slightly further than that.
Yeah. But it was just more so like the cultures, and I met so many people, because obviously America at the time, like football was obviously like one of the lower, not lower ranked, but you know what I mean, less popular sports.
Yeah.
But in terms of like the environment and the facilities and everything, it was just ridiculous. So they had obviously people like myself from, I met loads of lads from Brazil, Colombia, Africa. Like, you know, the team was made up of all similar sort of people that wanted to do the same thing, but from loads of different cultures, and I just made loads of pals from everywhere, and I would never have obviously got that here, you know, just because obviously everyone's so not in the bubble, but you know, it's not as diverse here, is it? So
absolutely,
no, it was great. I loved it.
And whilst the standard of football isn't quite what it is in this country, the facilities and stuff like that, I bet they're sort of world class, I would imagine.
World class, yeah. So in terms of the college, like it's a lot better over there than it is here for university. Yeah. In terms of the standard, but then obviously the top divisions like the MLS and the USL that was in, obviously a lot less than here compared to the Premier League and what have you. It's so hard. People ask us all the time, like, what was the standard like? What was the MLS like? What was the USL Championship like? How do you compare? It's so hard because you've just got different styles, and I think there's a lot of, like, especially when you go into sort of League 1, League 2, Championship and lower, like us and stuff, there's a lot of British lads, and there's that sort of culture where it's sort of like not the same style, but it's just that's how it is. Where there was like so many different sort of styles coming together, where you had like Caribbean lads, African lads, South American lads, European lads, all playing in the same team. So it was just like, it was so hard to, like, because each team was completely different. Because it's so hard to, like, sort of compare styles and stuff, you know. So, but I'll probably say like the MLS is like now probably somewhat like the Championship, I would imagine. Less competitive in terms of like physicality and things, but they're I would say, I don't know about fitter, but the games are more sort of back and forward, athletic, and you know, you've got so many different things to think about. The travel, obviously you're travelling the length of the country, aren't you?
Yeah.
The weather, the humidity, the heat, the altitude, you've got all of those things to think about. But it was class. Like.
Great experience. Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah, like I said before, loved it. I was lucky enough to play in like a really good side at college, and I won the national championship in my last year. And it was just great experience because it was something that you were like trying to do, but it was sort of like, there's obviously hundreds of teams in the country, and then you get obviously split up into like your division, or your conferences and your divisions, and you kind of go into your regional matches and you go into your national matches. So it was like, it was a really good national tournament, and it was like we won it when I was finishing up. Yeah, like kind of them 4 years of hard work and trying to get the college up and challenging everything. Yeah. It was great because I went over with a few lads from Newcastle, actually, like a couple of other lads that went to Monk Seaton, sixth form with us. So that was great, and then playing in the second division was brilliant as well, because that was just growing so quickly. When I first signed, not when I first signed, but maybe when I was in college, looking at the pathway, it was kind of like not as desirable, I suppose, when I first went there. But then by the time I finished college, literally 3.5, 4 years later, there was another 12 teams. There was stadiums getting built just within 12 months, and pop-up stadiums here, and this franchise opening, you know, and it was just going. So by the time I got out of college, it was just something that I really wanted to do, and fortunately got picked up in sort of like a combine style match, and ended up playing over there and for 3 years. I was living in Charlotte, North Carolina. That's where I went to college as well, and managed to get a team there.
So you got familiar with the area and stuff.
Familiar with the area, and my college was sort of like an hour outside the city. It was like where a lot of the colleges are, like not banging the city centres and stuff, where I was driving into the city to play for Charlotte, like the city of Charlotte, I guess. And then driving back and forward and stuff, but it was great. I moved to Oklahoma City after one year in Charlotte. I moved to Oklahoma City, so my last 2 years in America was in Oklahoma City. Which was like, again, moving away from like, not my family, but like all my college pals and my coach who like kind of took us under his wing, and another set of kind of comfy environment in Charlotte, in North Carolina, which I'd obviously stayed in, and moved to Oklahoma City. And just obviously joined the team there.
So that again, you're stepping out of your comfort zone there, you know, to join that new team and do 2 years there as well.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it was. I suppose it wasn't really like that. That didn't sort of cross my mind. It wasn't like I knew I'd make pals in the team and stuff, but at the same time, when you think about it, it was moving away from like sort of the family that I'd built over there because it was like 4 years there.
Yeah.
It's a long time, I suppose, when you're in the same people and same environment and things like that. But yeah, I got an opportunity from. Basically, what had happened was the coaches from Colorado, I think quite liked us. And in Charlotte, even though there's nowhere near, Charlotte Independence they're called, and in Colorado from the MLS, were like affiliated together. So it's often Colorado would in the MLS would send their players to Charlotte in the second division, like on loan, and you know, like they would just have a sort of connection. So they were like, sign for Charlotte, and we'll keep an eye on you, what have you. Which was perfect because obviously it was close to my college. I was just like, brilliant, I can finish my degree instead of going somewhere else and not being able to finish my degree at my college. So it was kind of worked out perfectly. Long story short, they got sacked, or I don't know what happened, but they lost the job, left the role, and went to Oklahoma City. The assistant from Colorado went to Oklahoma City and took us from there. So you know how it works. Yeah. Who you know, isn't it?
Of course. Yeah. That always helps.
Yeah.
That always helps.
And that's where I went to Oklahoma. Yeah.
So after that, South Shields was the next stop.
Yep. That's right.
So that was Lee Pickton and Graham Fenton, who you knew from Monk Seaton, yeah?
Yep, that's right. Okay. They were, so I knew them from Monk Seaton, and then tying everything together, basically my coach in college had a really successful sort of summer camp. He'd been at the college for like 20, I think it was 23 or 4 years, I think 28 years now, when I was there. And every summer he put on sort of like showcase camps where it would be like lads coming to try and get scholarships, like them sort of camps. But then there was also like high school camps where it was sort of like summer competitions and what have you. So a lot of people came in our college for the summer camps, and because my college coach in Lee and Graham had a connection from Monk Seaton, he used to fly them out there and they would coach over there. So like we've always kind of stayed in touch because I'll be working the summer camps as well, coaching and what have you. So I'd see Lee and Graham over there most summers. And then I was in Oklahoma, and I was kind of like at a crossroads because I was offered another contract from Oklahoma, and I loved my time there, but then I had a girlfriend at the time, and it was when Trump was in charge actually, so it was like things were a little bit difficult. Visa wise and all the rest of it, and like so Bryony was she had done so well, got a master's and what have you while we were together, so she was like flying out to see us and back and forward, and obviously I was over there at Christmas time when the seasons were done. But then it was just kind of so tough to get her out there on a work visa, because you had no experience in like a couple of years of a role in this country where that you could then put on your CV over there. So they were like, oh, we need experience. And it just it didn't match up. So basically I was just like, I made the decision to come home. There was a lot of talk about the League of Ireland as well. There's a few teams that were sort of in touch there because I had an agent when I was in Oklahoma. And that was an option, and that was kind of like, oh, that would be great. That's close at home. Like I could fly back and forward because I think they in the League of Ireland still do it. Where they play on a Friday night. I'm guessing it's so like that they fill the stadiums a bit, and because obviously I know a lot of the Irish fans probably come over for the Man United, Liverpool games, on the weekends. So I was like, oh, I don't know, we might get some of the weekends off, and I was like, oh, that'll be good. But long story short, I kind of made the decision. Lee and Graham were speaking to us, and I was just like, I'm just gonna go completely home and same for South Shields, and I loved it. Yeah.
So that was a full-time contract at South Shields.
Full-time contract. So like when my first year there, and the completely full-time now, but my first year there, obviously I went from full-time in Oklahoma to South Shields, where it was they called it like a hybrid sort of model, where you would train in the mornings on the Monday and the Friday, and then the Tuesday and Thursday evenings you would train as well, like a part-time club would do, like at Spennymoor. So then you had the lads that were able to work and train on the Tuesday Thursday evenings, and then you had like, I think there was maybe 8 to 10 of us at the time, which were full time,
Mm-hmm.
and that was the sort of transition period.
Okay.
Where you probably your best players were your part-time players, who were the most experienced, who were kind of coming up towards the end of their career, but had played at your Hartlepools, your Gatesheads, and things like that, and they were so valuable to making a great team.
Yes.
So you couldn't, even though the model that they wanted to change to was a full-time model, you didn't want to get rid of them players all in one go or anything like that, because they were the mainstays in the team, really. And then you had the younger lads who are the full-time sort of model that you can kind of train and develop and things like that. That's how it went. So
it was all part of the transition.
So basically, I think I signed when they were just kind of transitioning into the full-time model, which was a sort of kind of, I guess, perfect timing for both parties, really, because I had like experience in full-time, and I was at a decent age, and 25, I think 24, 25, something like that.
And there was a lot of success in that period for South Shields. I mean, as things stand at the moment, and they're sitting top of the league as well, and looking bang on for promotion at the moment. But that was there was a lot of success there. I think they won 4 trophies in one season. That type of thing. So that must have been a really good time to be part of the club, and a good feel-good factor as well.
So basically, unluckily, not unluckily, but that was just before I was there.
Okay.
So I think it was, they got into the division that we're in now, MPL. I don't know if that was the first season that they were in there, or maybe it was the second season potentially when I signed.
Right.
But before that, they had all the success where they won the 4 trophies and things like that. And I think the season before I signed, I think they got beat in the playoffs.
Okay.
Off Warrington the first time.
Okay.
And then obviously we played them last season in the playoffs and lost again on pens. But yeah, there was like, even when I signed in, I wasn't part of all the trophy winnings. You know, you could see the confidence and where the club was going, and sort of, you know, the club was striving for success and wanted trophies and all that. And that hadn't changed by the time I got there, because I signed in the January. So I think even the season before, the trophies or whatever they had won, it was kind of like, it was still there, you know. Everyone was kind of had that attitude of like, we need to be challenging for all the trophies and stuff. So it was good, because I was in like sort of a winning team at college, and then managed to win the national championship, and then I was doing really well at Charlotte, and then at Oklahoma City were in a good side, but it ended up where we're like fighting sort of for the playoffs, and we're sort of mid-table, and then you go to South Shields where you expect to win every game, really.
Yes.
In the division that you're in. It was a complete different style, so it was fun to be part of that, where, you know, you're in a side that you kind of dominate possession, and you're knocking on the door all the time, and you know, the pressure's on, really, to pressure for promotion, isn't it? So
it's a different type of pressure, isn't it?
Really, completely. That's the way I felt, actually, like when I signed for South Shields, that it was Oklahoma City, I didn't feel like a connection really to like the owners and things, because they weren't there.
Okay.
You know, where here it was a lot more like close and knit. Even just like the fans closer to the stadium, closer to the pitch. Sorry.
Yeah.
And you seen the owners, and like I knew like Lee and Graham like from before, so like it's obviously their jobs as well. Like, you know, I just felt like that pressure was a little bit different to succeed. It was kind of a lot more like, don't let other people down. Like, you know, like the owner's putting his money in, and Lee and Graham's jobs are on the line, where, you know, it was just a lot more sort of heartfelt. That's what I felt, the pressure, rather than like just winning football matches. It was more like, we've got to do this sort of thing for everyone. Like, you know, even the lads' contracts and things like that. Maybe that was the same over there, but I was a little bit younger, and maybe my mind just sort of changed a little bit, but potentially a bit of both.
Absolutely. And then you sort of suffered quite a serious injury. So is it okay to revisit on that a little bit? So what actually happened then? You know.
So it was it's like just over a year ago now. Was it March? So I injured in the very start of January. I think it was January. I think New Year's Day game. And I was playing, and I had a sort of little injury that you get a few weeks before on my ankle. And we're playing Scarborough at home, and I actually injured my ankle against Scarborough the first time. and then I got like just tackled from. I was kind of running across the pitch. It wasn't like behind. It was sort of like from the side, I suppose, like a slide tackle. I don't necessarily think it was that bad of a challenge, and I just like kind of fell awkwardly, and I hurt my ankle in the same way as what I'd done the few weeks before.
Okay.
And speaking to Andy Morris, the physio there, he was like, "Come off now." It was like the 60th minute or something, and I actually was going to come off for my ankle. I didn't even feel my knee at the time.
Okay.
Because he was like, you played on the last time, and it took weeks and weeks and weeks for it to heal because you just probably aggravated it a lot. So he was like, come off now and you'll probably be fine in a week or so.
Yes.
So I ended up coming off thinking, for sort of God's sake, not wanting to come off. And then the next day, it was so strange. But I obviously haven't read the diagnosis and all that of my knee injury now. It makes sense. It kind of follows the sort of the script. But the next day, my knee was all swollen. I couldn't sit down. I was thinking, what the... I didn't even feel it in the tackle. But I'm guessing like the way I fell or the hyperextension, like the nature of the way like the tackle went, is that I tore my meniscus, my lateral meniscus, and like in my right knee. So then it was kind of like, we need to assess this. Do we go for scans? Like, well, let's settle it down for a couple of weeks. See if just kind of, because you can't see what it is
when
really.
It's all swollen.
With the swelling and stuff, but you also can't really, you don't know what it is without a scan really.
Yeah.
You've got ideas and the symptoms and all the rest of it, but we tried to let it settle down. It wasn't really. It was just angry for a little while. So I ended up going for a scan, and then we're kind of getting advised to not get a surgery and sort of rehab it, and hopefully in 6 weeks or 8 weeks or whatever you're fine. So we've done that. Just wasn't working. So then went for like another opinion, and the surgeon was kind of like, no, you definitely need a surgery. So I was like, all right, so there's 2 months of the season, like maybe January, February, or whatever, that was gone, where I could have kind of done this in the first place. That was kind of not a waste of time, but knocked us back a little bit. So then I needed the surgery, and luckily, like, I'm really grateful for it. Like South Shields paid for the MRIs and the consultations and the surgery and everything, because I had my own health insurance, like my own sports health insurance and everything, but because it wasn't like a grade 3 tear of a ligament or a dislocation, or because it was like a meniscus, a cartilage, it didn't fall under the loopholes. Yeah. So I was like, great. So I was like, I was worried at one point, thinking, well, I can't afford to pay in case there's like a big surgery fee and what have you. And I was thinking, oh god. So hopefully I didn't have to go on the NHS, because that could have just been a year, and I was just that was the first sort of worry in my head, thinking I don't know what's going to happen here. But obviously really grateful that South Shields paid for that. So went ahead with the surgery, and I was doing the rehab and all was going well. Like I think I had the surgery about a year ago, in March or April or something last year. And all was going well, and I was out for the season, but it was kind of thinking like, I could be sort of maybe back for the back end of May, a couple of months. The surgeon was kind of saying, couple of 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. It's really quite just difficult to say. It just depends how your body reacts, all the rest of it, all the variables. But I was doing really well in the summer. I was kind of running on it all the time, and in the off season, excuse me, I got to the point where I was like, I'm fit, I'm healthy, I'm like ready to go for pre-season, like no problems whatsoever. I was kind of past as no swelling.
So feeling good.
I was like, obviously I had a couple of holidays already booked. Because you can't obviously take any holidays through the year, so I had a couple of holidays booked in the summer. Was out there running like in Greece and what have you. Everything was fine. Came back for pre-season, and it was just blowing up all the time. Like couldn't train, and it kept just swelling really badly. Anytime I tried to like twist, turn, play football for more than one day, it was just getting so angry. Swelling all the time.
Difficult to manage that then.
Yeah, so I'd been out for so long and so frustrated, and then we ended up losing in the playoffs, and I couldn't help but think like, I could have helped the team in some capacity. That's not me saying at all that I think we would have got promoted or anything. That's not what I mean. But just missing out on that.
You want to be part of it. Truly part of it.
Yeah.
On the grass we have boots on.
That's it. As simple as that. Yeah. I wanted to feel, even losing. I wanted to feel responsible.
Yeah, yeah.
On the pitch, you know, where that point you're kind of away from it. And you're thinking,
yeah,
what if this or what if that? You know, we're lost and I couldn't help, or you know.
yeah.
But I went back for pre-season, and yeah, it was just kept swelling up and getting angry. So went for another MRI.
Okay.
That was kind of saying that the surgeon was saying like there isn't a big issue there. This is like all the things that I'm seeing on this MRI is kind of normal to what I would see, like in terms of for somebody's knee that I've done this surgery on.
Okay.
So there wasn't really any real sort of like you need to do this or that. Kind of keep going, keep rehabbing, and it just took months. And every time I stepped on the grass, it would swell again, and it would cause like my knee to like kind of lock out and be really painful. And the swelling was like too thick that my body wouldn't absorb it.
Okay.
So it was just sitting my knee, so I couldn't like move my knee properly. And all the fans kept saying like, "Oh, you're nearly there," and I was saying like, "Yeah, a couple of weeks," which is what I was getting told. And then I would get to that point, and then I would break down again, and it was just sort of like
a roller coaster.
Oh yeah, it was so frustrating, and it was something that I had never experienced before. And I know I'm like, no disrespect, but I'm playing for South Shields, not for Newcastle or for England or do you know what I mean? And I can imagine like lads at that level are missing World Cups and all this bit, and I'm missing the Northern Premier League. But at the same time, it was like what got us out of bed, what made us happy, you know, everything. And I was just like, wow, it was just so mentally like every time I got close, it was just getting taken away, and I basically had to keep getting my knee aspirated. So they kept putting needles into my knee and draining my knee. Of this like sort of fluid, this liquid, but it was too thick. It was like high. I don't know the sort of medical terms, but it was like high protein fluid where it was just really thick. It was like honey, really. When he took it out and he poured it into it. He poured it in like a test tube to send away, and it just like glooped in, and I was like, oh my god, thanks for that, pal. So yeah, that was the case. It just kept swelling up loads all the time, and then it just took time. Really, it still swells up now, but my body's like starting to learn to take it away. Yeah,
like absorb it.
So I can like if I get my feet up for, well, actually I don't really have the time to do that, but anytime I get a little bit of rest on it, it helps, and then you know fluids coming in and out of it. So it's still like an issue, but I'm playing. Right. I'm playing. I'm fit.
Yeah.
Which is the main thing. It's still like not ideal because it's always on my mind. You know, like what happens if it's that fluid that my body can't take in, and how long am I going to be out for, and all the rest of it. So injuries, they're
it's still ongoing then. You know, that roller coaster. Although it's getting better, it's getting easier.
Yeah, it is because I'm playing and things like that. It's a lot easier. But yeah, I've obviously had a few injuries before. I hurt the same knee like in college, a different type of injury, but that was a few weeks, and you've had injuries before, but that one was just like different. That was like really like mentally like draining. Getting close, seeing the lads go to train, I would be able to put my boots on, backpedal, we'd done everything that I was supposed to do, and I had rushed it, I had taken my time, I had sort of went down every avenue, and it was just kind of like
followed every piece of advice from the experts and all of that, and still unable to
and it was frustrating. And the fact every time I walked in, the fans were saying, "Oh, you said 2 weeks when it was been 6 months." And I'm like, I know, mate. I'm sorry, but that's the way it is. But yeah, I'm fit and healthy with my knee, I suppose. I'm playing and things, so that's the main thing.
Yeah, absolutely, and you know, for South Shields to look after you in the way that they did in regards to that, you know, that's great. So so now you're back and you're playing for Spennymoor.
That's right.
And so how's that going for you? You know, how's it going in the club and all the rest of it? Does it feel like home again, or? You know?
Well, not like home, I suppose. It's a bit further away, but no, I'm really enjoying it. Yeah, I'm loving it. I kind of sort of came to this point where I was like, not my age, I'm getting old, I'm 28, but I was sort of like, you know, I was loving South Shields and things like that, but then there was a point in my brain where I was like, I need to start thinking about after football and all the rest of it. Like I'd had my injury, like, which is kind of a little small part of my mind, and it was just like, I just needed to give a second thought to like what I was going to do afterwards, my coaching, my work life, and all the rest of it. And Spennymoor was like interested in it as a really good option. Obviously, moving up the league.
Yeah.
I'm sure now after the weekend's results, Shields are going to be up, which I'm really, really pleased. You know, like absolutely no hard feelings there. I really want all the lads to get promoted. So
yeah.
But moving the league up to Spennymoor, going part time and things like that, it just gives an opportunity to combine my football with other stuff, and the timing of it all just kind of made sense. I didn't think that I might not get another opportunity to kind of go up the way, go part time, and start to focus a little bit on work and get myself sorted for after football. Because no disrespect to the lads that do it, but often the case is that if you stay full time a little bit longer, then you end up kind of dropping down as you go part time.
Yes.
You know, and which I'm sure I'll probably end up doing as I get older as well. But it was just an opportunity where I kind of moved up.
Yeah.
I'm going to like just as the same competitive sort of team or level or what have you.
Yeah.
At the same time as combining, starting to focus myself on work for afterwards and all the rest of it. So it was just a really good opportunity that made sense, and I'm really enjoying it. The lads are great. Got a good group of lads. There's been a lot of change at Spennymoor this season in terms of players and even coaches and the management team and stuff like that. So it's a little bit of a not juggling, but we're just like in a sort of little transition moment where I think we just need to kind of get ourselves settled, and we've had some good results, some not so good results, and we're mid-table-ish. We're like fighting for the playoffs. Really, it's going to be pretty tough, but we've got a couple of games in hand and things like that. So like, there's a lot still to play for. Like there's I think there's about 10 games left now. So roughly the same sort of a couple more games than Shields have. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah, I'm happy.
Excellent, good. And it's, I suppose, ultimately being, as you say, being back out on the pitch and playing. That's a massive part of it. So yeah. Well, it's still 30 points or so to play for. So
I know.
Fingers crossed that the
right.
season goes well, and it finishes on a strong point for you. So to shift slightly then, you know, you've mentioned the coaching and stuff like that. So again, how did that all come about then?
Honestly, I think some of the lads at Spennymoor like wind us up and that and say like, so I'll say something on the pitch and they'll be like, all right, thanks coach. But I just think like when I was younger, I don't know what it was when I was little. I think the coach that I had at boys club was always pushing us to try and sort of not lead, but just, you know, like trying to help other people out. And I think I just naturally kind of fell into that sort of. I was always captain when I was younger and growing up with the teams I was playing for, or the majority of the teams. So I kind of naturally sort of went into that sort of style of player, I guess. There's times when I sort of took a back step, and you know, when you're new at football clubs and things like that, you've got to, you know, learn the way you speak to certain people. You've got to figure out people's personalities and the way, you know, you don't want to step on people's toes straight away. You know how it works. But then, like, as I got more comfy at South Shields, then obviously Fence made as vice captain, and it just kind of felt natural. You know, the longer time I spent there and helping some of the younger lads. I think the younger lads, or most of the lads in general, felt comfy speaking to us. And that was just kind of like the way it went. So in America, like I spoke about before, the summer camps and stuff, I suppose that's how it started. That was the first time really that I had coaching experience. I'd done like my basic level 1s and stuff, my badges at Monk Seaton. Actually, they put you through like an intensive course, so I got that. So I suppose that was the very first start. But in America, I like in college it was the summer camps. So that was the first experience, and then I went into the similar sort of business that I've got now, of like the 1-to-1s, the private, the small groups, and all that sort of stuff in America, which is what led us to then me and my best pal to start our company here. So I had the experience over there, and he actually lived in America for 3 or 4 years as well. He came home slightly earlier than me and started it back up here, just sort of like in a smaller less, not serious, but just for fun sort of thing, and had a couple of clients and what have you.
Yeah.
And then now when I came home in COVID, you know how it was, and we kind of put our heads together and we had time on our hands and we made our business and what have you. So now we're running that and it's going really well. And
so what's the name of that?
It's Ep7 Performance.
So Ep7 Performance for all you young aspiring footballers.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, thank you very much for that. So yeah, it's going well. We're really pleased with it. So there's me and Tom Devitt who like founded it, I guess.
Yeah. Is that Tom, the lad who plays for Ep7?
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, so,
okay.
Yeah, so we've got
I do like to follow the local football.
Nice.
So
yes, that's Dev. Yeah. Ginger Dev.
Yes.
So me and Dev have that, and then we've got a couple of coaches. Sam Hodgson that you'll probably know from Shields, and Will McCamley, who's at Hebburn as well, and who was at Shields. So there's the four of us now.
Okay.
That I've got that. So yeah, we've got we're team coaching, and we're private, we're 1-to-1, we're small groups and things like that. We've now just started kind of going into the sort of holiday camps, and we're just kind of keeping the ball rolling because it's a part-time thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's on the. Dev's a teacher, and obviously Hodgie and Will have got their own stuff as well, and then myself, I've got, well, obviously I was full time at Shields, now I'm at Spinningmore, and I've started other kind of little lines of work at the minute until that kind of little transition moment, but we're doing well, we're keeping ticking over, and we just want to keep growing it. We don't want to chuck all our energy at it. It was never meant to be that, but we're doing well, and we're happy, and you know, it's enjoying, which is
So it feels like or sounds like it's just sort of organically growing, and you know, and words getting about, and you're obviously doing a good job, and then other opportunities come from that. Then
I think, like I said, I was kind of just naturally sort of like, I naturally just enjoyed the coaching side because of the way like I was as a person and as a player. So when we came back and COVID happened and things, we kind of just said, well, let's put our head together, and let's make it a little bit more serious and see what happens, see where it goes, and we kind of we sat down, we made a logo, and you know all the bits and bobs that you do. And then like you said, organically just kind of grown, and we're put a little bit more energy into like making one little business cards and getting my social medias, you know. So then we put a bit more energy into it, and it's doing really well. And now, I coach like one of the locations at Wallsend Boys Club.
Okay.
And my girlfriend's dad, Steve Dale's the chairman there, so I get to use their facilities. And it's obviously a great environment, great facilities and everything. So we've got a couple of boards up there and things like that. So we're just kind of at that level where like we all just like really enjoy coaching. It's something that we love doing, and we've always me and Dev always think like, oh, what happens in a couple of years? We'd love to like get a unit, you know, and have a sort of all like we're indoor, you know, like 3G and sort of. Hub, but like there's a couple of lads that we know through football, like Ep7 and stuff, that they've got a unit and stuff. But I think that's more like they would have to come away from like their full-time jobs and focus on that. So it's kind of like a you know, little crossroads that hopefully that we'll get in a few years. But no, we're really enjoying it, and I love the coaching.
And I'm assuming that you're sort of working on, you know, not just the football and the fitness and the technical ability, but also a bit of the psychological side as well, you know, and encouraging and, you know, and things like that. So
yeah, absolutely. So as well as with Ep7, I also coach for Wallsend under 16s on a Wednesday night.
Okay.
And that's like the voluntary stuff. So I'm the assistant and obviously the head coach, and we'll have under 16s, and obviously they train. Well, I coach them on a Monday night with me, if like an optional session with Ep7, and we'll do like sort of like 5 or 6 lads and kind of small technical stuff. But on the Wednesday we've got with team coaching, which is obviously a little bit different, like more of a original style. Like, you know, you've got your team sessions and stuff. Yeah. And they're at an age where it's good. It's helped me. You know, you've got there's lads that are in school. The lads that they've got girlfriends and they're just starting to go out, and you've got to have all this sort of like in the back of your head when you're coaching them, you know, like each person's different. You've got lads turning up late because they're getting on the bus, and like, oh, why are you late? And it's just like you've got to, probably as you know, you've got to manage the person really well. Especially at that age, because there's some lads that if you get into them a little bit, they're sort of starting to go into the shell, and literally just a couple of weeks ago I'd said to the head coach, I want to have individual meetings with everyone, because I'm just so busy at the minute, and I'm turning up on the Wednesday, I'm coaching them and putting the best session on as I can, but then it's like, oh, hi, bye. And I haven't really had the chance to sit down with the lads properly for a little while. And speak to them, you know. So as you were saying there about the sort of psychological side of things, I just kind of sat down with each of them and like stripped the football away a little bit and just asked how they were doing and, you know, like, how's your family, how's your school, is there anything that I can help you with, blah, blah, blah. You know, more like a teacher would do, I guess, like, you know, like that you can speak to some of the teachers like that. And I think just some of the lads opened up a bit. Some of the shyer lads. I know we've got a foreign lad there who's, I'm guessing, finding it not difficult to settle in, but more difficult than you would, because he I think he's from Spain.
Right.
Or he's lived in Spain and speaks Spanish and things like that. So
okay.
a little bit of the language thing. Yeah. When I spoke to him, his English was brilliant, but I would never have knew because like he's dead quiet in group scenarios. You know, that was great. I was pleased I'd done that, and they kind of said like, oh, I was like, oh, what can we do more of? What do you want to do less of? There's the things that you're enjoying. So I was, it was more like a thing for me. It was for both, you know, like what you're enjoying, what you're not enjoying, what do you think we need to work on, all the rest of it. And that's good. That was really good because then obviously I've sort of just changed my sessions a little bit to know what they think that we need to work on, as well as obviously what the coaches want to work on and stuff. But yeah, it's funny because even in my one-to-ones, you've got like the lads that they make mistakes and they're just not bothered. It's a fun and joke, and then you've got the lads that make a mistake and they're beating themselves up, and you're having to try to manage that character inside them to where like they're remaining positive and that the mistakes are wanted really at that age. Like I'm wanting them to make the mistakes so then I can like pick up on what they're doing. Do you know what I mean? So I'm trying to like get that into them to say like, you making the mistakes is actually a good thing for you and for me, because then that's like making it easier for us to help you. Do you know what I mean? If you were perfect all the time, do you know what I mean?
You've got nothing.
Do you know what I mean? So I was like, you making the mistakes is really good. You're getting so frustrated and making more mistakes, but I was like, make your mistakes, and then when I'm helping you, try and sort of channel your energy into.
Every mistake becomes a learning opportunity, doesn't it?
Of course.
And a coaching opportunity for you to say, well, this is what you did, and then about 20 minutes later you did the same thing, so let's work on that and let's get better about that. It's not about beating them up over it, it's about letting them grow, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's the old cliche, isn't it? Like learn from your mistakes and all the rest of it, but it's true. It's been more apparent when I started coaching and stuff. Especially the younger lads, because they obviously make the same mistakes more often because they're just in a sort of rhythm of that's how they've kind of learned to kick the ball, or you know, like the little nippers, the 5-6 year olds and stuff. It's funny that it's great to see them when they start to develop and things like that. I've had a couple of lads now since I moved home, like 3 and a bit years. Some of the first clients that me and Dev had. It's great to see them grow, like, because obviously some of them have like shot up because they're at that age where they're like 14, 15 and then went poof. And some of them are still only like 8, 9, 10. But it's great to see the development and you know, and that's not why we do it, but when the parents are saying like, oh, thanks so much for your help, like the players of, you know, like little Max or little Adam or whatever, just came on leaps and bounds and they're loving the football and all that. It's rewarding. It's like, why you want to help the lads.
Absolutely, and it's that gratitude side of things, isn't it? Really, which is awesome, you know, and it's great that you're finding that time for those one-to-ones, because as you say, you're managing that player, and some people will react well to being really challenged and some players will want an arm round them and a bit of praise, and it's about getting the best out of that individual, isn't it?
Really? So that absolutely. So there's that, like that with the one-to-ones and stuff, because that you're obviously spending a lot more time with that individual, so you get to know the person a little bit more. Like you said, everyone's different, and when I was saying just there about the meetings that I had with the Wallsend lads, even then, like when you think you know what type of characters they are, a couple of them were like, you know, I'll prefer it if the coaches didn't do this, and it's easy to say that, like, because when you're an adult, like the coach is the gaffer, do you know what I mean? So the way he speaks to you is the way that he's going to speak to you. Ideally, when you're this age, you have everything kind of fine and dandy. So I understand. I understand what you're saying.
Yes.
I'm going to try and do that for you, like, speak to you the way you need to be spoken to, like, in terms of put my arm around you when you need it, get into you a little bit when you need it. But I was like, just so you know, when you get post-18, most likely, you're not going to have that choice. That's not the coach's role anymore. The coach's role is, like, then based on results.
Win games.
Do you know what I mean? So, like, right now, I'm going to do everything to help you. Develop as a player and as a person to, like, put my arm around you when you need it, but at the same time I was like, I want you to know that at some point you're going to have to learn to deal with the side of it that you don't like. In terms of, I think for example, I'm not going to name names and stuff, but he was like, when the coach was shouting on from the side, it just kind of put us in my shell, and you know, like, what happened was, I seen it kind of happen, and someone got injured on the game, so I ran on the pitch and like kind of spoke to him, and he was like, oh, I loved it when you came and spoke to us and stuff, and I was like, that's great. Like, I knew that would help you because I needed to kind of boost your confidence a little bit at the time, what have you. And just speak to you on a personal level. But I was like, there's not all the time someone's going to go down and get injured, and I'm not just going to be able to run on the pitch and speak to you. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, that's great that you loved that, and I'm pleased that it helped you at the time. But like, try and take the pieces that like when I spoke to you, take the information out of that and try and take it out of when he's shouting at you. Rather than think about he's shouting at you. And he's really angry. He's probably saying a very similar message to what I'm saying. To like try to take the information, not the tone of voice.
Don't take the tone.
Do you know what I mean? Probably said the same thing, but he's doing that in the moment where he's angry and shouting, and you're thinking he's shouting. And really it's exactly the same information. You know, but it's so easy. I do it myself, you know, when coaches scream and shout and you're like, oh god.
It becomes white noise a lot of times, doesn't it? You know, you're just like, whatever, right?
It was kind of weird because I was like, I've just said the same thing as what he did, but he was like, oh, I really enjoyed it when you done that. I've not enjoyed it, but I really preferred it when you done that.
I'd say it's having those opportunities though in games. It's, as you say, it may not come round very often. You know, and things like that. I mean, you know, I coached for a little while at Horton and Westow a few years back, and they were sort of 16, 17 and quite challenging at times, let's say. And because all I wanted to do was come and play football for an hour. So I split the session into two, and there was one parent who would always come and watch, just the one, because the rest would drop the lads off and go. And I said to him, I says, do us a favour, and I picked two players. I says, just count the number of touches they have in this first half of the session. And then when we play the game, count the number of touches. I says, just pass me that information at the end. And at the end, I says, listen, lads, I know you always want to just come and play, and that's fine. I said, but the reason I don't do it is this. He's counted the number of touches that this person and this person had. And during the skills and the drills, he had about, I can't remember the exact numbers, but he had about 120 touches, and he had about 130 touches. So you're working on similar levels. During the game, he had about 70 odd touches, and he had about 14. I said, I know there's different positions and different players and all that sort of stuff, but it's no less important for him to work with the ball as him work with the ball. So there's a reason behind it. You know, it's not just coming and playing football all the time. You know, and it's just that type of thing. So when you're talking about these different things, I'm kind of thinking back to that as well. And it's relating to that and how you find yourself as a coach and your style of coaching as well. You know,
I'm sure my style of coaching, I guess, I wouldn't necessarily say I've got a style at the minute, because I haven't actually like taken a team, like an adult team or whatever, you know. But it's like, you've got to try and please everyone, don't you? You've got to get the team to enjoy it. So like, you've got to not please everyone. I didn't mean like that, but you know, like in the sessions, you've got to. If some people, you know, like, oh, I don't like doing this, well, other lads are like, I love doing this. So then you've just got to kind of keep mixing it up, and like you said, the touch of the ball is why we enjoy doing the kind of smaller group stuff.
Absolutely.
Because you know, you see some of the lads that might be shy and what have you, they don't. Even, you know, in the rondos and things like that, the possession games, they're not getting on the ball when really they could be one of the best technical players, but just because they might be an introvert, you know, and they're just not like getting low touch on the ball. So in them sessions, that's where they get the touches and they get the feedback and what have you. And hopefully that just gives them the sort of confidence to then go to the team sessions and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, the touches on the ball is key. Like
absolutely, I think that's a thing. It's wanting the ball and being confident to take the ball and then move the ball around and things like that. So, I mean, there's a lot to it, isn't there?
No.
There's a lot to it.
I mean,
but I'm sure your coaching style subconsciously is developing. As you go and I mean, where are you at badge wise?
So yeah, when I'm touching on that before, I was just about to say. So I went and done my level 1. Was it when I was 17 or something like that?
Yeah.
And then I went over to America, and they don't transfer over. So then,
really?
Then I've done a couple of my badges over there.
Mm-hmm.
And then by the time I came back over here, they didn't transfer back over. So then, so basically, since COVID started, I still I'm trying to get on my UEFA B.
Okay.
Like intensive sort of 1 week course in Belfast.
Okay.
What had happened was I was going to do my level 2 because that was the next one up from level 1.
Yeah.
And then COVID kicked in, and then there was loads of sort of pushbacks and stuff. And then by the time it was back on and things were open again, then they changed it to UEFA C.
Yeah.
So they scrapped the level 2 into UEFA C.
Okay.
I was like, right, great. So then I was applying to do that. But I knew someone in the Irish FA, and because I played in the second division in America and at that certain level, what have you, they were like, no problem, we can get you to do a UEFA B.
Okay.
So that one got fully booked for this summer. So now I'm probably going to have to wait till next summer to do my UEFA B. But in the meantime, if I can get on the UEFA C, I will. But it was just because it was Saturdays and Sundays were the only ones in Northumberland.
Right.
Because I can't because I'm playing. And
there's
I would love to rattle all my badges off, but it's just like...
Yeah.
So at the minute, long story short, I've literally only got my level 1 in this country.
Yeah.
So that's something that obviously it needs urgent attention. But I'm hopefully going on my UEFA B next summer and getting that rattled off.
Yeah.
I think it's like a week intensive sort of 9 till 9 course, which I'm sure will be fun.
Long days. Long days.
But I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Because I've been around, like I say, around the game. I'm young compared to some coaches, but you pick up habits, you pick up information, coaching styles, all the rest of it. But even though people might say, the coaching badges, they mean nothing, I'm sure you learn stuff. Because the people who are educating you have played or coached for years and years. So even if you might go away thinking, that was a bit rubbish or whatever, I'm pretty sure you'll pick up some good points in session plan and all the rest of it, all the intricate stuff.
Yes.
So
exactly.
I'm looking forward to doing that actually. Something that I really need to push and get sorted, because I was a little bit lax on it when I first moved home and stuff, and now I'm like I'm still in the same position kind of coaching badge wise, so I want to kind of nail that down next year. Yeah,
I'm very surprised they don't transfer across the US and back.
I mean, I could probably say like on a CV or whatever, I've got USSF, this, that and the other, but I don't think... I think you have to have certain requirements, Like I'm sure they would acknowledge it, but if they're not accepted, they're not accepted, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think those people who are cynical about the badges, I would disagree with them. I think you always pick up stuff, you always learn, and you might think that 8, a load of rubbish, I'll never use that, but them 2 I will learn, and I can use them, and that speaks to me. So I think there's always that learning there. Absolutely. So
definitely.
Yes.
Definitely.
Great stuff. We have to get you out of here.
Yeah.
You have places to be and things to do.
Working man.
So thank you again. Really appreciate the time. Really appreciate the time. It's been a great conversation. I hope you've enjoyed it too. Ep7 coaching. He's the man. Okay. But thank you very much for your time.
No problem.
Really
my pleasure. Thank you for having us on.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Take care. Cheers.